A photograph once sold 12 million copies and claimed bedroom walls across America. The woman in that red swimsuit looked like she was simply smiling, yet in truth,
And that was on the wall of every little straight boy that I knew when I was an adolescent in the 1970s.
she was building an empire of her own making.
That I'm much more petite in person. They'll say, "Oh, I guess that's what television does," because maybe there's so many close-ups, and I usually have so much hair that it gives off a...
She understood something Hollywood didn't. Controlling her image meant controlling her destiny. She picked her own swimsuit, styled her own hair, chose the final shot from hundreds of proofs, and earned more from those poster royalties than from starring in television's biggest hit. Yet the same woman who shaped pop culture's most famous pinup spent the next 3 decades fighting to be seen as more than a poster. From a Texas beauty queen to Charlie's Angel, from battered survivor to Emmy-nominated actress, from cancer patient to advocate, Farrah Fawcett's story traces a woman who chose truth over comfort, even when that truth came wrapped in lawsuits, headlines, and heartbreak. Mary Farrah Lenny Fawcett entered the world on February 2, 1947, in Corpus Christi, Texas, already destined to turn heads. Her high school classmates weren't subtle about it. They voted her most beautiful, all 4 years running, a record that set her apart even then. The admiration followed her to the University of Texas in the mid-1960s, where she first majored in microbiology before switching to art, all while casually becoming a campus beauty whose photograph found its way from Austin to Hollywood talent scouts. The story goes that publicity stills from a campus beauty contest made their way to a Hollywood agent named David Mirisch. By 1968, with her parents' encouragement rather than opposition, the 21-year-old made the calculated decision to leave university behind. She packed her things and drove west to Los Angeles, carrying more ambition than most people credited her with having. Those early Hollywood years moved in careful increments. Television commercials for ultra-bright toothpaste and Wella balsam paid the bills, along with the usual guest spots on shows few remember. The industry noticed immediately, but she was one stunning blonde among hundreds in a city that manufactured them. Then came Lee Majors. Already established as television's $6 Million Man by 1973, Majors represented both romance and strategic positioning in Hollywood's ecosystem. Their wedding that year transformed her into Farrah Fawcett Majors, a hyphenated name that would soon appear in credits, but also signaled her entry into Hollywood's power structure. She was no longer just another aspiring actress from Texas. She was half of a golden couple, learning the business from inside its machinery. The marriage gave her access and credibility, but Farrah was already demonstrating the business acumen that would later shock executives. She studied contracts. She paid attention to merchandising deals. She understood that in Hollywood, image was currency, and whoever controlled the image controlled the game. These observations would soon prove more valuable than any acting lesson. March 1976 changed everything, though nobody knew it yet. Aaron Spelling, television's hit-making machine, cast Farrah as one of 3 female private detectives in a TV movie pilot called Charlie's Angels.
Very hazardous duty. And now they work for me. My name is Charlie.
The concept was simple enough, beautiful women solving crimes for an unseen boss, but the chemistry was explosive. When the pilot aired and scored massive ratings, ABC fast-tracked it to series. That fall, Charlie's Angels premiered as a weekly show, and Farrah Fawcett Majors became Jill Monroe, the athletic blonde angel with the 1,000-watt smile. The show's critics dismissed it immediately as jiggle TV, a phrase that would haunt all 3 actresses. The dialogue was forgettable, the plots were thin, and the camera loved lingering on the angels in bikinis and tight clothes. Yet something about the combination worked. The show didn't just succeed, it detonated across American culture. Within weeks, Farrah's feathered hairstyle was being copied in every hair salon from Manhattan to Missouri.
Hair. It did this just without any help.
Women brought in magazine photos, demanding the Farrah. The style was seemingly effortless, blonde layers that flipped away from the face like wings, but achieving it required hot rollers, considerable skill, and the right bone structure. Most attempts failed, but that didn't stop millions from trying. Then came the poster decision that would define her career. In late 1976, Pro Arts Inc. approached her about creating a pinup poster. Farrah agreed, but on her terms. She would control the shoot. At her Bel Air home, not some studio. With her own red swimsuit pulled from her closet, not some stylist's selection. She did her own hair and makeup that day, trusting her instincts over professional handlers. The photographer, Bruce McBroom, shot roll after roll while Farrah shifted poses on a Mexican blanket. Hours passed. Hundreds of images accumulated. When McBroom developed the contact sheets, Farrah herself went through them with a magnifying glass, studying each frame. She selected the shot, the one where she's laughing naturally, body turned but looking back at the camera, nipples visible through the fabric in a way that was both innocent and unmistakably sexual. Pro Arts initially worried the image was too revealing for mainstream sales. Farrah insisted. Her instincts proved golden. By March 1977, 5 million copies had been sold. By year's end, the number would reach 12 million, making it the best-selling poster in history. She earned far more from poster royalties that year than from her Charlie's Angels salary. While her castmates collected weekly paychecks, Farrah was banking merchandising millions. The poster's success went beyond money. It became 1976's version of a viral phenomenon, appearing on bedroom walls, dorm rooms, garage workshops, and military barracks worldwide. That red swimsuit, that smile, that perfectly feathered hair, they crystallized something about American beauty and freedom in the bicentennial year era. Hadn't just become famous, she'd become an icon. By spring 1977, Farrah Fawcett Majors was the most famous woman on television. Charlie's Angels dominated Wednesday nights. Her face covered newsstands. Her poster sales kept climbing. She had everything an actress could want, except satisfaction. The show that made her famous was also suffocating her. Every week brought another flimsy plot requiring her to go undercover as a cheerleader, beauty contestant, or beach volleyball player. She made a decision that Hollywood considered insane. She quit. After just one season, 22 episodes of the most successful new show on television, Farrah walked away. The announcement sent shockwaves through the industry. Nobody left a hit show at its peak. The money was too good, the fame too intoxicating, the opportunities too vast. Aaron Spelling's production company responded with lawyers. They claimed she was under contract for 5 seasons, not 1. The lawsuit demanded she return to work or face financial ruin. The case went to trial, generating headlines that painted Farrah as either courageously independent or foolishly ungrateful, depending on the publication. The legal battle ended with a compromise that satisfied nobody completely. Farrah agreed to return for 6 guest appearances over the next 2 seasons, scattered episodes where Jill Monroe would help her fellow angels before disappearing again. It was an awkward solution that kept lawyers happy while letting Farrah pursue other projects. Those other projects initially seemed to justify the skeptics. Somebody Killed Her Husband, a 1978 comedy mystery with Jeff Bridges, disappeared from theaters within weeks. Sunburn, a 1979 caper film, fared no better. Critics who had dismissed her as lightweight television fluff felt validated. Industry observers predicted the typical fallen starlet trajectory: a failed pilot, some Love Boat guest appearances, maybe an infomercial for skin cream. Farrah refused to follow the script. In 1983, she made another radical choice, taking over the off-Broadway lead in Extremities, playing a sexual assault survivor who turns the tables on her attacker. The material was raw and confrontational, the opposite of her angel's image. The New York theater world was skeptical. Could the poster girl handle Eugene O'Neill Theater's intimate space? Could she deliver lines without multiple takes and perfect lighting? Opening night proved she could. Critics who came to mock stayed to praise. Her performance was visceral and committed, earning respect from serious theater observers who hadn't expected much. Still, it was television that would provide her vindication. In 1983, she signed on for The Burning Bed, a TV movie about Francine Hughes, a Michigan housewife who killed her abusive husband by setting fire to his bed while he slept. The role required Farrah to appear battered, exhausted, and completely deglamorized. No feathered hair, no dazzling smile, just a woman pushed beyond endurance. While Farrah was fighting for her professional independence, her personal life was unraveling in the most Hollywood way possible. The marriage to Lee Majors that had seemed so golden in the early 70s was cracking under pressure. He was frequently away filming The $6 Million Man. While her growing fame created a rift, few marriages in Hollywood survived. They eventually separated, and by the time the divorce papers were signed, both had already moved in different directions. Even before it was official, Farrah had fallen into her next relationship, one that would define and torment her for the next 30 years. Ryan O'Neal entered her life through an almost comic twist of fate. Lee Majors, heading out of town for work, asked his friend Ryan to check on Farrah, make sure she was doing okay. It was like asking a wolf to guard the sheep. Ryan was handsome, charming, and had a reputation for collecting beautiful women. The chemistry between him and Farrah was immediate and undeniable. By 1980, they were Hollywood's new golden couple. The paparazzi loved them, both beautiful, both famous, both volatile enough to generate headlines. Ryan later described their early days with almost mystical language, calling it magical, fated, written in the stars. Farrah was more grounded but equally smitten. Their passion ran hot enough to melt film. In 1985, their son Redmond James O'Neal was born. Farrah had wanted children, wanted that piece of normalcy amid the Hollywood circus. For a moment, it seemed possible. Baby photos showed the three of them glowing with new parent happiness. Ryan declared they didn't need marriage. Their love transcended legal documents. They were committed without contracts, bound without ceremonies. The reality was more complex. Both had strong personalities that crashed against each other like tectonic plates. Arguments were common, sometimes explosive. Ryan had his own demons, a history with controlled substances that would later entangle their son, a temper that could turn volcanic, children from previous relationships who resented Farrah's presence. She tried to be the peacemaker, the stabilizer, the one who held the family together through will and determination. Yet their connection endured through the 1980s and into the 1990s. They attended premieres together, vacationed in Malibu, raised Redmond in a house where love and conflict coexisted daily. Friends described them as addicted to each other, unable to live together peacefully, unable to stay apart. The passion that brought them together also kept them in perpetual tension. The Burning Bed aired on October 8, 1984, to massive ratings and critical acclaim. It premiered with a household share of 36.2%, making it the highest-rated television movie in NBC's history at the time. Her performance was revelatory, controlled, nuanced, absolutely convincing. The woman who had been dismissed after leaving Charlie's Angels was suddenly being offered serious dramatic roles. The Emmy nomination that followed was more than recognition. It was vindication. The same industry that had written her off as a pretty face who made a lucky career choice was now acknowledging her as a serious actress. She didn't win that year, but the nomination itself changed her trajectory. Producers started seeing possibilities beyond the poster. She followed The Burning Bed with the 1986 film version of Extremities, bringing her stage performance to screens. Then came Small Sacrifices in 1989, where she portrayed Diane Downs, a mother who shot her 3 children and blamed it on a carjacker. The role was monstrous, requiring Farrah to find humanity in a woman most viewers would despise. She earned both Golden Globe and Emmy nominations for the performance. The 1990s brought a steady stream of television movies and miniseries where Farrah played complex women facing impossible situations. She had successfully reinvented herself from sex symbol to character actress, though the transformation came with its own challenges. She was respected now, but also older in an industry that prized youth. The poster still haunted her. Interviewers always asked about it, as if those 12 million copies had frozen her in 1976. Then came the 1997 appearance on David Letterman that threatened to undo years of credibility building. She seemed disoriented, rambling about art projects and giving scattered answers to simple questions. The audience laughed nervously. Letterman tried to guide her back on track. The next day, entertainment shows replayed the clips endlessly, calling it one of the most bizarre talk show appearances ever. Farrah insisted she was simply nervous and distracted, maybe fighting off a cold. The explanation didn't matter. The incident became late-night comedy fodder, proof that the beautiful angel had lost her way. It was cruel and unfair, but Hollywood had always been both. She weathered the mockery and kept working, kept pushing boundaries. In 1995, she had already shown she wasn't afraid of controversy by creating an art house video for Playboy that featured her painting with her body. At age 48, she was still commanding attention, still refusing to fade quietly into character actress obscurity. The video was strange, provocative, and entirely her choice. Critics didn't know what to make of it. Farrah didn't care. The same year as the Letterman incident brought a more serious crisis. After nearly 18 years with Ryan O'Neal, after raising Redmond together, after surviving countless fights and reconciliations, Farrah discovered the ultimate betrayal. She walked into Ryan's bedroom to find him with another woman, Leslie Ann Stephenson, a younger actress with blonde hair not unlike Farrah's own. The discovery shattered something fundamental. This wasn't just infidelity. It was happening in the bed they had shared, in the home where they'd raised their son. Farrah packed immediately and left. Friends described her as devastated, not just by the cheating, but by the casual cruelty of it. Ryan would later admit in court testimony that he'd been unfaithful, calling it a terrible mistake. By then, the damage was irreversible. Officially single and trying to rebuild at 51, Farrah began seeing James Orr, a Canadian film producer who seemed to offer stability after the chaos of her years with Ryan. The relationship moved quickly, perhaps too quickly. Warning signs appeared that Farrah either missed or chose to ignore. Controlling behavior, jealous rages, and demands for constant attention. On January 28, 1998, everything exploded outside Orr's home. An argument escalated into physical violence. Orr grabbed Farrah, slammed her head against the driveway, and began choking her. In desperate self-defense, Farrah grabbed a baseball bat and smashed the windows of his car, trying to get away, trying to make enough noise for help to arrive. The police came. Orr was arrested. The woman who had played a battered wife on television was now actually battered, her glamorous image replaced by police photographs and medical reports. The trial that followed in August of that same year was brutal in its intimacy. Farrah had to describe the attack in detail, relive the terror in a courtroom while photographers waited outside. Orr was convicted of battery, a victory that Farrah hoped would help other women in similar situations. Her spokesman said she had simply told the truth and wanted to send a message about standing up to abuse. The message was powerful, but the cost was high. America's golden girl was now a domestic violence survivor, her private pain made public in the most humiliating way. Yet even this trauma couldn't keep her away from Ryan O'Neal permanently. In 2001, when Ryan was diagnosed with leukemia, Farrah heard the news and felt the old pull. Despite everything, the infidelity, the fights, the years of dysfunction, she went to him. She sat with him through chemotherapy treatments, held his hand through the nausea and fear, helped nurse him back to health. The reconciliation surprised nobody who knew them. Their connection had always transcended logic or healthy boundaries. They were matched souls, for better and worse. Ryan recovered from the leukemia, and they stayed together, older now and perhaps wiser, or at least too tired to keep fighting the way they once had. In September 2006, Farrah received news that changed everything. Anal cancer, already advanced. The diagnosis was devastating on multiple levels. This particular cancer carried stigma, often associated with HPV transmission, making it something people whispered about rather than discussed openly. For a woman whose image had been so carefully controlled, this felt like the ultimate loss of privacy. But Farrah made a choice that surprised everyone. Instead of hiding the diagnosis, she would document everything. She would turn her cancer battle into something useful, something that might save lives. With her friend Alana Stewart holding the camera, she began filming her treatments, her pain, her hope, and her deterioration. The footage was raw. Farrah vomiting from chemotherapy, losing her famous hair, crying from pain that medication couldn't touch. She traveled to Germany seeking more advanced treatments, adding targeted procedures like chemoembolization and laser therapy to her conventional chemotherapy plan. Some called it desperate. She called it fighting with everything available. Initially, the fight seemed winnable. On her 60th birthday, February 2, 2007, doctors declared her cancer-free. The celebration was cautious but genuine. Ryan was there. Their son Redmond was there despite his own struggles with addiction. And for a moment, it seemed like Farrah might have beaten the odds again. 3 months later, a routine scan showed the cancer had returned, spreading to her liver. The news was catastrophic. Liver metastasis meant the cancer was now systemic, traveling through her bloodstream to establish new colonies. The treatments became more aggressive, the trips to Germany more frequent, the pain more constant. Through it all, the cameras kept rolling. Farrah's story aired on NBC in May 2009, drawing 9 million viewers who watched America's former sweetheart confront mortality without makeup or flattering lighting. She was gaunt, bald, sometimes barely coherent from pain medication, but still fighting. The documentary raised awareness about anal cancer and HPV in ways no public service announcement could have achieved. She established the Farrah Fawcett Foundation to fund research into HPV-related cancers, turning her personal battle into a public mission. Jaclyn Smith, her former Angels castmate, called it Farrah's shining moment, when she opened her soul for inspection to help others. The woman who had once controlled her image so carefully was now letting the world see her at her most vulnerable. By June 2009, Farrah was hospitalized at St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica. The cancer had spread throughout her body. Pain was constant. Breathing was difficult. Ryan O'Neal, who had been her caregiver through the 3-year battle, knew the end was approaching. He did something they had discussed, but never accomplished in 30 years together. He proposed marriage. Farrah accepted, though both knew no wedding would occur. Priest was summoned instead to perform last rites. On the morning of June 25, 2009, Farrah Fawcett died with Ryan holding her hand. She was 62 years old. Ryan's statement to the press was simple and broken. "She's gone. She now belongs to the ages." He would later reveal that in her final moments, she had looked at him and mouthed, "I love you," before closing her eyes. Their tumultuous love story, spanning 3 decades of passion and pain, ended in a hospital room with whispered words and held hands. The red swimsuit from that record-setting poster now resides in the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of American History, officially recognized as a piece of American cultural history. One could imagine her Emmy nomination plaques, her public testimony about survival, and the film she made of her illness standing alongside it. For Farrah Fawcett was never just one thing, not just a poster, not just an angel, not just a victim or survivor or actress or advocate. She was a woman who understood earlier than most that image was power, and whoever controlled the image controlled the narrative. From selecting that single perfect photograph from hundreds of contact sheets to documenting her own death for cancer awareness, Farrah spent her life trying to own her story. Sometimes she succeeded brilliantly, sometimes she failed spectacularly, but she never stopped trying to be seen as more than what that poster promised. The real tragedy isn't that she died at 62 from cancer, or that her great love affair with Ryan O'Neal caused as much pain as joy. The tragedy is that we're still asking whether she ever escaped the poster's shadow, as if transcending one's most successful moment is something to be achieved rather than an impossible standard we impose on women who dare to evolve. Farrah Fawcett chose difficult authenticity over easy fame at every crucial juncture. She walked away from Charlie's Angels when staying would have made her wealthy. She took roles that required her to appear ugly and brutalized when her beauty was her calling card. She exposed her cancer battle when privacy would have been simpler. She forgave Ryan O'Neal when walking away would have been healthier. These weren't always the right choices, but they were always her choices. In an industry that manufactured blonde angels by the dozen, Farrah Fawcett insisted on being human, flawed, struggling, aging, dying, but always unmistakably herself. That may not fit on a poster, but it's the story that matters, the one that transforms a pinup into a person, an image into an inspiration. The feathered hair has been copied millions of times. The smile has been imitated endlessly. But the woman who created both spent her life proving she was more than either. She succeeded though success looked different than anyone expected. Not in escaping the poster, but in adding dimensions to it, until that frozen moment in 1976 became just one frame in a life that refused to stop moving, even when movement meant pain. In the end, Farrah Fawcett belonged to no one, neither to the millions who bought her poster, nor to the producers who tried to contain her, nor to Ryan O'Neal, who loved and betrayed her in equal measure. She belonged only to herself, and that ownership, hard-won and fiercely defended, was her greatest achievement. The Golden Girl became a real woman, and that transformation, more than any poster, show, or relationship, is the legacy that endures.